Have you ever wondered what it truly hides in the shadows of a city when everyone is asleep? What if something was watching you without ever moving, just waiting for you to make the mistake of looking back? It was 2:17 a.m. when Thomas, an apprentice depicted in Whitechapel, walked through the narrow alleys to return to his lodging after hours of work. The fog was thick, almost solid, swallowing the lanterns at every step, transforming familiar street in the labyrinth of shadows and silence. He felt the cold of the night as if the city itself was breathing down his neck. Thomas began noticing details he had never paid attention to. A flag fluttering without wind, footsteps synchronized with his own, all the boards creaking that he had never creaked before. Every corner seems to hide figures that vanished when he tried to focus on them. An indistinct whisper cut through the air, slowly and instantly repeating his name. Am I imagining this, or is someone really following me? He thought, quickening his pace. Turning a corner, Thomas found a dead end street. Every shadow seems to stretch and twist on the ground. He felt a light touch on his shoulder. When he spun around, no one was there. Silence returned, heavier and denser, almost suffocating. The city sound warped. Dogs barked from nowhere. Rhythmic footsteps appeared from empty space. And even the wind seems to whisper incomprehensible words. Even seconds carried a sense of imminent danger. Is Whitechapel alive in some way? He wondered. Back at his lodging, Thomas looked at the door and tried to calm himself. But in the mirror's reflection, a shadow stood behind him. He slowly turned. Nothing. A deep chill ran down his spine, and deja vu hit him. He had seen that same shadows years ago, on the same street at the same hour. In the following days, inexplicable things happened. Clocks losing crucial minutes, doors opening by themselves, whispers coming from the walls. He felt constantly absorbed. Thomas began writing everything in a journal, trying to journalize it. But the pages filled with words he had not written. During the day, he saw the figure out of the corner of his eye, disappearing when he looked directly. The nights were worse. The fog crept into his room even with the window shut, and the whisper of Whitechapel returned, closer and more threatening. Every outing made the city seem to rearrange itself, trapping him in an endless maze. He wondered, will I ever get out, or am I destined to wander this street forever? On the final night, Thomas decided to confront the shadow. He entered the narrowest alleys, walls damp, foggy thick. Absolute silence became deafening, and every shadow seems to move independently, forming twisted human figure that approached slowly. The final whisper cut through the air. You are always come back. Thomas realized he couldn't escape. Whitechapel was not just a city. It was a temporal trap where fear took shape and the past endlessly repeated itself. He tried to run, but every street led him back to the same spot. Lantern flickered, and the fog closed in around him. When someone entered the alley the next day, Thomas had vanished, but locals say that if you walk those streets at night, you can hear a whisper calling your name. It was 1:03 a.m. when Emily, a librarian in Whitechapel, closed the ancient library. The thick night fog seemed to seep between the wooden doors, carrying the damp scent of all the books and the rain that had fallen hours ago. As she walked the silent street, A torn poster caught her attention, and on the portrait, hanging crooked in an empty shop window. The painted face seemed to watch her insistently. The dark eyes followed every movement, piercing deep into her mind. A chill ran down her spine. The street was empty, yet she felt she was not alone. The next day, upon opening the library, Emily found the same portrait leaning on her desk, as if it had moved by itself. No one knew where it had come from. The face seemed closer, more intense, as if trying to communicate something she couldn't understand. She began to notice subtle changes. The portrait's expression seemed to shift when she wasn't looking directly, alternating between stern and faintly smiling. Every step into the library brought a glowing sense of presence, as if someone was breathing silently behind her. Am I losing my mind, or is the portrait truly watching me? She wondered, trying to ignore the mountain terror. The nights that followed became nightmares. Emily dreamed of a street that didn't exist, doors leading to endless corridors, and staircases with no end. Each time she woke, the portrait seemed closer to her bed, its gaze fixed on her, silent but penetrating. She began hearing soft whispers, words emanating from the walls, or perhaps the painting itself. Objects moved slightly, books fell, pages turned on their own. The portrait seemed to feed on her fear, growing more intense each night. Emily tried to ignore the portrait, but reality became too warm. Every reflection, windows, mirrors, still water, showed the painting's figure staring, silent and unblinking. Her sense of being watched became suffocating, and she felt that any abnormal step could trigger something terrible. She wrote in a journal, commenting every change in the portrait, but the pages filled themselves with strange symbols, incomprehensible words, and phrases that seemed to predict the future. Each try intensified her fear, showing that perhaps she was already under the portrait control. One night, unable to endure it any longer, Emily confronted the portrait. She placed it on the floor, staring directly into its eyes, searching for any sign of explanation. The library's silence became deafening, and every shadow seemed to move intentionally. She heard a clear, direct whisper, "You see me, and now I see you." Her heart raced. The portrait appeared to smile faintly, and the entire library plunged into a heavy, almost tangible silence. Emily realized that the line between dream and waking had vanished. She was no longer just being watched. She had become part of surveillance itself. Fear manifested fully. Every reflection, every dark corner of the library seemed to house the portrait's gaze. Times appeared to stretch endlessly, each second becoming unbearable. The shadows of the bookshelves twisted, forming distorted human silhouettes that absorbed her alongside the portrait. She tried to scream, but no sound came. She tried to flee, yet every corridor led her back to the main room, as if the entire library were alive, manipulating her movements. Emily realized something even more terrifying. When she looked at the portrait one final time, she saw not just the painted figure, but her own reflection inside its dark eyes. There was no escape. She had become part of the portrait, absorbed by anyone daring to enter the library. Some stories don't end when the video starts. They keep watching those who choose to come back. Goodbye.